Hi everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd pose a question. Can glitter, vellum, and shimmery stencil butter make a masculine card? And I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, yep, you can. So a few videos back I played with alcohol inks on glitter paper, and I forget who mentioned it. I'll have to go back and look at the video comments. Somebody said that this would make a really good galaxy background. So I have been pondering this idea now for a while. And then I also seen somebody else use hand sanitizer with their alcohol inks, and I don't even remember where I seen that, so I'm not sure who to even give credit to. But I thought I would play with this. Now, this is a piece of Pink and Main glitter paper. Their glitter, what do they call it? Just glitter sheets, I think. They have all different colors in them, but it shifts kind of. So this is silver and it kind of shifts. Anyway, I put some hand sanitizer down, splattered some ink on there, used the blending solution to kind of blend it around. Now I'm using my pokey tool for a sewing machine, and I'm kind of mixing everything up, and it looks terrible. Am I right? I know I'm right. So then I'm going to dab it up. And this layer of alcohol ink, what it's really doing is dyeing the paper that is under the glitter. You can see when I dab it up, it's no longer that super shiny silver. It's still very, very shiny. So I dabbed it all up, and then I put some paper towel underneath. I wanted to make sure this was kind of dry. And I'm going to add some additional colors to the top here. This was super fun. And if you're nervous about how much alcohol ink you're going to use, this might not be the project for you. But for me, it didn't really bother me too much to kind of just lose myself in playing. So here I'm just adding some fairly bright colors, some colors that are not, I don't know, they don't seem outer space to me, but then again, they do. When I think outer space, I think of those bright colors that are stuck inside the dark, deep depths of space. And so I decided that these colors would be great. So it's a yellow and like a coral, a purple, aqua, blue. I don't know. They're just really pretty colors. And you can see as I tip this, you can see that the glitter is still glittery, still shiny, but it's not silver anymore. So then I recently got black. Oh my lord, I thought I ruined it right about here. I was like, well, here we go. Let's cover up all that black, or all that color with black. But when you're making a galaxy background, that's really what you're doing. You're adding these colors, and you're gonna kind of cover most of it up with black. Then I also recently picked up this mixative, which this is not how you use it. Don't do this, but although if you want to do this, you can do this. So it doesn't react like the rest of the alcohol inks. It kind of stayed put. And I think some of that has to do with this is glitter cardstock, so it's not smooth. It's glitter. But I think the mixatives are kind of thick. So I used white because I thought there'd be spaces in space. There'd be parts of space that would be kind of matte and flat and, white. Maybe. I don't know. I just was kind of screwing around. And I wanted to make a galaxy background that could be masculine. So once I kind of moved things around, then I used my blending solution to kind of move them around a little more. I used my little pokey tool to kind of mix things around even more. I thought maybe these splatters, these white spots, would be like planets off in the distance, I guess, or moons or something. But I just kind of kept playing with it. You can see here that I keep bringing back the alcohol blending solution. I keep kind of working with it. I didn't want any drippy lines because we're going for outer space, not like drippy. But then I also realized I could pull this mixative out and kind of make it blurry, like planets with rings around them, and kind of, I don't know, that they felt very outer space-ish at this point. So I was just kind of screwing around with these. Wanted to kind of mix up the mixative in and amongst my alcohol ink background. And I think that they added just the thing it needed, because I'm not going to add any like spatters or anything to this like we traditionally do when we ink blend and, do watercolors and all that cool stuff to make the backgrounds. So after I finish that, I set it aside to dry, and then I'm going to pull out a couple of things that I'm going to use to finish my card. Now, these are newer sets that I picked up. This one from Honeybee has these crazy sentiments, and then this one from MFT has these most adorable old people ever. And I just pulled the happy birthday out of that one, and I think I pulled out You're So Old or something like that. I think that's what it says, You're So Old. And you'll see why. It's actually, I think it's hilarious. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but also on the back of my Versamark ink pad there, you can see Adelaide's hand-drawn images. Oh, that girl. She has gotten into my craft room so many times, but my husband did install a lock on my door now. So there's that. That's a good thing. But here I'm just going to heat emboss these in white onto black cardstock. Yep, it says Happy Birthday, You're So Old. I'm not going to use them stacked like this, but they fit on this little piece of black cardstock, so I stamped them at the same time. Sometimes when you're mixing and matching companies, sometimes the depth of the stamp is a little different, so sometimes you can't stamp them at the same time like I did, but this time it worked out just fine for me, and I had my heat gun heating up, so I just brought it to my cardstock there and melted that. So this is what my background looks like now that it has dried, and I'm using this stencil by Brutus Monroe, and this is why we needed an outer space background. And I did spray this with pixie spray, and I let that dry. It gets kind of tacky, and I figured on this glitter cardstock I needed that so that I would get nice crisp lines around my little alien dudes that are going to be in the background. But I thought, what would be more of a challenge than glitter cardstock for a masculine card? I thought this shimmery, shiny stencil butter would make things even more challenging, because this kind of stuff usually reads pretty feminine to me. The technique stuff, the cards that read much more feminine. And I realized that we don't have a lot of masculine stuff on the market that's not, traditional, like fishing, golf, football. There are some guys that don't like any of that stuff. And I know lots of people like that. So I would like to see so much more masculine stuff on the market. I know I might be kind of in the minority when it comes to that, but I enjoy making masculine cards. This one made me giggle the whole time I was making it, because I had this idea in my head, and it really, even though it's a masculine card, it went back to when I was a kid, and we had, I'm going to age myself here, a video game system called Intellivision, not Atari, Intellivision. Had like these paddles with a circular thing on them, and you kind of, I don't know, moved your thumb around on them, kind of applied pressure, and you decided how this was going to, like how your little guy was going to fly. And they had one called Astro Smash was the game, and it was kind of like this. But this really is very much like what's the game called? Asteroids or something like that. Anyway, I cleaned off my stencil while that dried, because that stencil butter takes a little bit. And if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I'm not even sure where I've showed pictures, my cat has been absolutely in love with my craft room. I got this new little space, and he thinks that he should live in it too. And I had cat hair on this stencil. It was driving me bonkers. So I took the time to peel it off. You are not alone if you peel animal hair off of your stuff. Look at there, it's happening to me. And I just used the same, I used this yellow and a red, kind of similar colors that what I used on my stencil butter to stencil the stencil on the inside. And I started off pretty heavy-handed, and then I realized, oh yeah, we need to write on this, so let's just take the same amount of ink and spread it instead of adding more. But these oxides, they blend so nice that you really don't need too much. So I used Fossilite Amber and then Crackling Campfire to kind of mimic the red and the yellowish green color on the front of the card. And I'm going to go ahead and stencil that in. I wanted that to be more bold, so I did add a little bit more color. But this wasn't good enough, and I'll show you I needed to do a little bit more. But I love, look at how pretty it is, and it is masked off really well. There was a piece of cardstock there, so I trimmed out my happy birthday sentiment, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the inside. I used liquid adhesive so that I could make sure it was straight. Pulled out a T-ruler, and then I decided to add a little bit more of these aliens up here at the top, and just masked off with some Post-it notes, and then blended on a little bit more. And they're much lighter up here because I didn't add any additional ink. I just blended around the ink that was not only on my brush but also on the stencil. And I got 2 more lines of like little alien dudes up there. So back to the card front, now that it is all dry, you can see that you have the shimmer and the shine of the stencil paste and the glittery background, and it's just a whole bunch of probably not masculine stuff. You know, when you think about it, glitter and shimmer, it's usually not something you see on a masculine card. So I trimmed this down, and this is kind of a non-traditional size. It's 8.5 long, or the black piece here is 8.5 by 4. Usually I make slimline cards that are 3.5 by 8.5, but I wanted that extra space on this one just so that you could get more of a view of those aliens in the background. So then I decided to add this little strip that says "You're so old." I used foam tape, but I also used liquid adhesive because it's going on to glitter cardstock. I wanted to make sure that it was really gonna stay. And this "You're so old" fits so perfectly between that line of aliens and the little bullets that are coming out of the spaceship. You can't see them too well on screen, but they are like little red dots. And then on top of glitter and shimmery stencil butter, I also used vellum because that says masculine card. I pulled out this CZ Designs Dude die. I've had this for a very long time, and I really do like it. I think it's a line of words that I wish they would make more of. I wish they would put these masculine words in a lot of different fonts and lots of different words. I just feel like I get a lot of use out of them, and they help make any design masculine. So I just adhered this with some liquid adhesive, just put it behind the vellum so that you really didn't see it. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put that on top of the "You're so old," and it obscures some of those aliens, but you can see them all around, so it's really not that big of a deal. Just made sure that that was adhered down really, really well. I'm going to adhere this to my card base. And I used lots of liquid adhesive because if you've been around here recently, you heard me tell you about how every time I hand my husband a card to look at, like, hey, look what I made, he always kind of tries to pick it apart. It drives me nuts. I think it's his, like, need to find out how things work, but lots of adhesive. And there is my card. I think it turned out super cool. I think glitter and stencil butter and vellum can make an awesome masculine card. I'd love to know, like, what is the oddest thing that you have used in card making to make a masculine card? I remember one time I used the wheels of a car and like put them through the ink pad and drove them on my card front. So lots of fun comments, or lots of fun conversation to have in the comments. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, give cards generously. Bye.